and welcome to DevOpsCon. Thank you, Edwards, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I have one question first. How effective or ineffective is Shadow Continuous Delivery?
Shadow Continuous Delivery? That's a good question. First of all, Shadow Continuous Delivery is anti-pattern by default, right? So it's hard to measure whether it's effective or it's not, but in fact, it makes harm, right? It's a harmful anti-pattern, and it can start small. You do the small, tiny things and hide it from the rest of the organization, but you don't know about the consequences, and usually the problem strikes back a bit later when you don't really expect it. So in my presentation, I gave a story about the company trying to implement continuous delivery with a shadow IT approach, and eventually the company collapsed at all. The company just disappeared from the market because it caused the huge failure later.
And what were the lessons learned from that occurrence?
The major lesson that we learned is that if we try to introduce continuous delivery into a large organization, we have to make sure that all departments, all people which are part of the transition are aligned, because organization is a complex system, right? And if we're talking about the complexity, you can't really control the complexity, but you can try to drive complexity by setting the common goal in one direction. And when you have a buy-in from everyone, you can start. So you can't start without a buy-in where everyone is aligned and the change is visible.
So do you have some pieces of advice maybe for companies that are considering relying on Shadow Continuous Delivery and should not?
I hope that there are no many of companies that do things this way. However, we have to understand that continuous delivery is not a technical transition mostly, right? It's about people. And since many technical people are usually involved anyway, the problem is that the technical people, they are not very comfortable with talking to others. They're more comfortable with talking to computers, right? And that's a problem. So I believe that we really have to wake up first, sit together and decide where we go and how to go there, and make sure that everyone agrees with the direction and contributes there. So talk. Don't try to start alone in the dark room without talking to the rest of the organization. Get together, set the direction, set some milestone, and move together. Organize a regular get-togethers to see whether you're still on the same page. So that's the major thing.
Speaking of that, how important is it to include people who are affected by the change in the design of the change?
This is the major thing, because if you do something for someone, you should really know about the problems and how to solve the problems. And usually the best solution comes from the conversation, right? It's a result of conversation. So even if you hire someone to help you with continuous delivery, these people should work closely with people who are affected by the change, and make sure that actually people who are affected by the change contribute back, because at some point contractors or consultants, they will leave, and what we'll do next as a team, because continuous delivery is a journey, right? You evolve. There's no best continuous delivery. You get best continuous delivery in the fixed moment of time, but your organization changes, the world around changes, organization grows, and you have to adapt. And when you're left alone, what do you do?
Well, some people don't want to collaborate with each other, and they think they are part of a better team, and some are part of the, let's say, losers team. So how can we make them collaborate?
This is quite a general question, right? I think that in order to make people involved in something, there should be a feeling of a stake. So people should feel that there's a benefit for them as well. So this is very important. We have to find a place for everyone in the process and think about their personal benefits. Even if someone is doing just part of the flow, but we have to find the way how to sell it to person who are doing this part and why it's important for them. Again, it's a collaboration and it's not a technical problem at all. It's about how to sell and how to do marketing inside the organization. It's about juggling and doing stuff. And this is the reason, by the way, why it's very hard for technical people who are usually not the best people for doing sales and articulating to introduce continuous delivery. That's why you usually have to bring someone like maybe extrovert to the team that can do sales and explain and even inject some fun during this transition process.
So you would say that this is one way of making sure that continuous delivery doesn't transform into continuous complaining?
It's a common situation when people complain, and I would say even if you are doing this transition in the right way by applying the best change management practices according to the continuous delivery Bible and rule, anyway, people will complain. It's a natural course of things, and you have to approach people who complain differently. So there will be always early adopters. Yeah, okay, let's do anything. Let's just have some fun. So people who complain are usually those who follow well. So you have to find the early adopters and maybe start with them. But still, it doesn't really mean that you have to leave these complaining people abandoned. They must be part of the process from the early beginning, but they will follow later. But they should know about the change, and the more they are part of the change, the more comfortable they will become with the change, right?
Yes.
And then they follow naturally, because if majority of organization is doing doing things in a particular way, the rest should follow, right?
Yeah, correct.
So we have to concentrate on our early adopters because they actually do things first.
I see, noted. Thank you very much for the interview and enjoy your stay in Berlin.
Thank you, that's it. It was so easy. Thank you for having me.